There's power in a drum beat on a hill above the sea. Power in the voice of us the corner. But it all amounts to nothing. Together we don't sing. There's power when we're not noisy. Any day, go forever. Oh, town scenery. Valley and mountain, chaparral to the sea. And the colors of our rainbow, sunset, orange, Tory green. There's power when we're not noisy. SC loyal forever. Someday in North County. Desert to islands, get loud now, you and me. All our voices strong together as we cheer on our team. There is power when we're not
Welcome to the Loyal Locals podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Dyer. Back at it. Another disappointing result on Sunday, but we do have a very exciting away result to talk about. Maybe we'll talk mostly about that. So John Cross, our producer, is going to help me do this. John, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Well, I was just, thinking and looking at the standings and doing all of the complicated, arithmetic in my head for the big question on everybody's mind. Are we going to get a home playoff game? My Magic 8 Ball signs still point to yes. We are, unlike the Padres, not mathematically eliminated from contention for that spot. In fact, we are in the driver's seat for that home playoff spot. But if we're going to get it, we've got to beat teams like Las Vegas. We do have a third on the show. I want to bring him on before I start talking too much. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
All right. So I guess let's talk. So what we have coming up on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about these last two matches since the last time we had a show. We're going to talk about this weekend's match and everything you need to know for Saturday. And we're going to get into a little bit about the survey that went to everyone. It's in your email. If you haven't responded, I think you can still respond. I don't know if there's a time limit on that, but those surveys are out. I did mine. John, did you do yours?
I did mine as well, yes.
Kevin, have you finished your homework?
I have not.
Mm.
I'll get to it eventually.
And you're going to be co-hosting the Loyal Locals podcast. My goodness. You got to set an example for this fine audience that we have.
If I'm an example, we're in trouble.
All right. So let's talk about Wednesday's match. This was an away match in Monterey. I think there were a handful of folks that made the trip up the coast. John, did you see anything on social from them?
Yeah, there were. I saw one picture posted, and I think it was before the game, which I was led to believe that was not the entire contingent that was up there. I don't know if there was I know there was a post-game picture taken. I do not recall seeing it, but did have a decent number of people who made the drive up there or flight or whatever up to Monterey.
I did see one complaint. I guess security would not let them stand throughout the match.
Oh, yes.
Because there were people seated behind them and you can't block their view of the match, I guess.
The ones way, way, way back at the top row.
Yeah. So it's really funny. I'm just trying to imagine like being at a sporting event and like the ushers coming down and telling you to shush it down. You guys need to have a seat. Where do you think you are? A soccer game? You need to
soccer match.
Jeez, unbelievable. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't there because an away trip, tend to be a little more confrontational with people telling me I can't do things like that you absolutely can do and should be able to do. There's no reason. I mean, I would, you can really be like, I demand to see the bylaws that say that I cannot stand at my seat during this match. Like, that is not a rule. You are literally making that up to make my life more difficult. Like, show me in writing where it says I can't frickin' stand and cheer for my team. I mean, I don't know. Actually, maybe. Oh man, I wish I was there. That would have been.
It's just kind of a tale as old as time, or one of the many American soccer tales that are still the same after all these years, even though things have improved, is that teams by and large don't know how to deal with away fans. Especially like MLS teams are mostly finally understanding the concept, but USL is still not there.
Yeah.
So this match, it seemed to be playing out the way so many matches have played out. They get scored on early. This time, hey, they answered right, but then they get scored on again. Or no, it was 1-1, then 2-1, right?
Right.
So we're 2-1, and I think that second goal was that in the second half, early in the second half?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But the first goal was, what we tend to give up a lot this year are these counterattack goals. Like, we get burned on the counter. Teams know this. They're willing to give us possession and beat us on the counter, even if they're normally a possession oriented.
Yeah, unless you got Ronaldo Damas playing back as the center defensive mid. I don't know what he was doing on Sunday, but
the Vegas match.
He beat every single loyal defender back to stop a counterattack, which we can talk about that later, but I'm glad somebody wanted to run. But then, something happened in that match, something that, you think could happen. Maybe you, in your wildest dream, you think, you know what, it would be awesome if the homegrown academy kid came on at the end and scored 2 goals in quick succession to win the match, a match that we have to have. And it happened. It was, magic on a Wednesday night, an away trip. Everybody's just watching this thing on ESPN2 or the stream or whatever it's on. There's a handful of people in the stands, and we get this moment, which, gosh, when you talk about moments for the 4 years of this club, I mean, I think we've got Guido's goal in Phoenix last year, to win that game. We've got Kyle Adams' goal in the Open Cup. I mean, these are just the ones that pop into my head right away as like moments. But this moment that Xavi gave us on Wednesday, unbelievable. I was like high for a good 24 hours after that match. What was y'all's reaction to him coming on and doing that?
Yeah, I have to say, and probably most people feel this way, it feels like sometimes at the end of a match when Xavi comes on and then Hackworth comes on, it's almost like we're riding out the rest of the game. And in that sense also, it was, I think, extra special because I know we have some people who really enjoy those 2 players and really wish, Xavi would get more minutes. And for some, Hackworth even to get more time. And, Xavi's positioning and his hustle, it was, as you said, was absolutely awesome to see that. It was one of the few times since I've been at home, and I can be a little animated watching my sports, but I was, in my current health situation, I was up and in the middle of the living room, probably jumping up and down. I'm glad there weren't too many people around, but it was an exciting finish. That second goal, the cross in by Hackworth, was perfect to go on to Conway, and Conway snapped a tough header. It was mostly at the goalkeeper, but the goalkeeper wasn't going to be able to catch it. He had to deflect it, and Xavi was in the right position and just
he never gave up on that play.
Put it away.
He kept running.
Right. Yeah, and it was. You're right. You talk about moments and things that stand out. This will be one of the forever moments. And I'm so happy that Xavi played a huge part in that moment. So happy for him, not just the team and us, but really happy for him that he got to play such a massive role in a moment that I'm sure we will all forever remember.
Where were you, Kevin? Did you make it to the watch party, or were you?
I was at home. I unfortunately Wednesday nights I can't go to a watch party, just for timing purposes. But I was able to watch all of the second half and a good portion of the late first half. So yeah, it was really exciting to watch him because at some point your mind kind of gives up on the game when you're getting late in the 80 somethingth minute and it doesn't look like they're going to do anything, and then bang bang turned it right around.
I got like a feeling, and this is something that we've talked about on this show, that the team doesn't want to play vertical, right? We want to pass side to side, get the ball into the corner and cross it in. A lot of, we talk a lot about like the balance of like, okay, we understand. I think we all understand the advantages of playing possession soccer. We all understand the necessity of, passing the ball around the back, wearing down your opponent, maintaining that, and picking your moments to attack. And we struggle with this because so much of the time when this team has failed, it's because we do steps 1 through 9, but step 10, doesn't come to fruition. And when Xavi came on, about in the 70th minute, he had an early touch in the midfield, and he's playing at the 10, so he's the attacking midfielder. And instead of just cycling the ball backwards or off to the wing, he shot it. He put it straight up the field to the forward. And at that moment, I think there were like 3 people in the Discord chat, like, "Oh, a forward pass," like
Right.
somebody's trying to play the vertical game. And I was like, Xavi's on to something here. He's on one. Like something's happening. Maybe something's going to happen. We'd seen him. I think the best we'd seen him up to then was in that Open Cup match when he came on and was just like a spark of energy in that midfield position. And I want to say his first goal, what a great touch on the ball. That is not an easy shot. We saw, I think it was Conway, miss a goal like that on Sunday that should have gone in. And they don't always end up on target, but for him to have the poise and composure not to overshoot that first goal, not to put too much on it or try to just bury it in the net, I think kind of spoke a lot to his kind of maturity and maybe his comfort level on the field, to where he's not getting like, that rush of like, oh my God, it's my turn to shoot and kicking it 6 yards above the crossbar. Same thing with that second goal where you could say, oh, that was an easy one, he just happened to be there. Like, no, you don't just happen to be there. That's not how this game works. A lot of players, and I watch a lot of kids play soccer, right? My kid's not that younger than Xavi, and a lot of players, they stop running once the striker or the forward has the ball in the box and is taking a shot. They don't keep running. They don't keep going. And so those deflections, maybe the center back gets it. Maybe the goalkeeper is able to recover and grab it. But yeah, so for him to do that just says a lot about where he's at right now in his development. And man, I don't know what his future looks like. I think that's one of the big questions going into this offseason is, we talk about some of the players on the team. Some of them might retire. Some of them, probably going to go on to other USL clubs. Like, where does he go? What do y'all think?
That's tough, because he hasn't gotten a ton of playing time. I wish he would have had more, especially this season. But he hasn't. So I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be tougher. I don't see him being picked up by a Major League Soccer team or anything else. I just don't think I think they probably have people in their academy that are on par or something else. I think his best bet is to probably go with another USL team somewhere, would be my guess, since he's already signed a pro contract, right? He's not going to college or anything. So that would be my best guess now, is probably keep playing at the same level somewhere, unless, he's got some connections to try to do something abroad. I don't know.
Gosh, if
I don't
only
know.
San Diego had an
Metcalf?
MLS team that was maybe in search of some homegrown talent
Yeah,
and
I
somebody
just
to get fans excited about a new club. Like, if only that were in the ether. Shame, really. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing. It'll be we've yet to see what will happen in 2024 with the new San Diego team. Whether they're going to have their academy stuff set up, whether he'll want to go back to that kind of level, or does he
I'll say,
he catch on?
If San Diego FC signs Xavi, I'm like in. Like, to me, that you can't write a better story for this, all this crap that we've kind of gone through with this MLS and Loyal going under, like, bringing him on, like, hey, Andrew Carlton got a freaking MLS deal. I think a team can take a chance on Xavi.
Right. He's still pretty young. Interesting to see if he connects up with another USL Championship team, or maybe he can slot in at a League One team. Maybe because Santa Barbara starts next season in League One, something like that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think he'll definitely be somewhere. Like, he'll land somewhere. It's just on whether he's gonna be able to get on at the same level, right? Like, as a player, I think you hate to step back and play a league down from where you've been. Although at his age, he really just needs minutes and needs to be on the field. Yeah. So maybe there's a certain appeal to a League One opportunity if it comes.
And frankly, I think for most players, your best thing is to be playing regularly. I think too many players end up going somewhere that has potential down the road, but then you're not playing regularly for 2 or 3 years. And I don't know. I think that also stifles development. I think for a lot of people, if you're good and you have good potential, I think even as KJ said, a year in League One might be enough, and see him playing regularly and get some serious minutes and really dominate, that could lead then to another contract either in the championship or possibly even being picked up by an MLS team. Like, oh, okay, now we see what we have there, and now let's maybe pull the trigger and pull him in for a year or something.
It's a good thing that Ricardo Campos is going over to that club. He might have some influence. I don't know who makes player personnel decisions over there. I mean, they don't have a coach, so that's one thing we've got to get out of the way. But I've already got their first signing for them, so I'll give you all the advice you could probably never want. So I guess we do need to move along, fast forward in the week to Sunday, the final Sunday afternoon match at Torero, our final fun in the sun, sweating, staring into that brutal, Pacific sun just right on us. And like so many of these games this year, what do we get? An underperforming team.
Disappointing draw.
An underperforming team against the worst team in the league, and it's a draw. I'll just say, I did see some positives in this match. I mentioned Damas making that run back. I think this was maybe, I know he didn't score, but I think this was maybe as good as we've seen Damas play in the Loyal system and in Torrey Green. What do y'all think?
I think one of the things you alluded to earlier, his defensive run that he made to get back and break up a potential second counterattack goal was phenomenal, to get back there and do that. And we needed that because we don't have the speed. We've seen it, I think, all 4 years. We have never had, well, maybe except for when Yaro was here, but we don't have the speed on our back line to catch
Oh,
up with a lot of
we
people
we do have
that
Elijah
run
Martin,
with the
but
ball. They
I
run
haven't
with
seen
the
him in a
ball
while.
faster than our back line does, right? Without the ball. And I don't know. Someone I'm sure can go back and pull it up and figure it out, but I think I'd be embarrassed as to how many goals we've given up on, quick counterattack off a corner kick or a set play or somewhere where we're deep in the opponent's end and they just play a quick outlet ball that someone races onto and down and score. And, in the post game, I think Nate Miller talked about that they were prepped and ready for it. They expected it. And we just didn't execute, right? For whatever reason, we keep leaving ourselves vulnerable to that counterattacking goal. And if I was coaching against the Loyal, I would be, especially if I went up early, I'd be happy to sit back and absorb pressure, because I don't think, while we have tons of people who can score, I think we have a hard time breaking down teams that park the bus. And
I mean, that's the playbook.
until
That's
we
the
start
game plan.
proving that we can
That's
score.
everyone's game plan against this team.
Yeah.
There's
So
there's a proven track record of success. You don't have to be that creative of a coach.
But I will say I did enjoy Perez's goal, and I know a lot of people have talked up Koke's name for Player of the Year for when we do our voting as locals. I think Perez is my Player of the Year. I think the solidification of him on the right side has allowed the rest of the team to kind of gel. But him walking down that spot a third of the way through the season really changed a lot of things for us. I think you could almost say the same thing about Bodley on the other side. But being able to secure those wing back positions, because I think we rotated those so much the previous 3 years, and this year it's been pretty consistent. In fact, this year we've had a fairly consistent lineup most of this last half of the season. We've kind of found generally what works most of the time, but not all the time. And we got to find those right. We got to execute in those key moments, So if we want to go make a deep run in the playoffs, we just got to. We're doing 90% of it right, kind of like you said earlier, Andrew. But we got to unlock that last 10% if we want to have success in this last bit of our season.
Yeah, it's definitely been a theme throughout the season, and you can see it with Monterrey's second goal and Vegas's goal. The central marking, both players who scored were by themselves. Nobody marking him at all. Easy goals.
Well, we do have. I have the schedule up here. I am cheating a little bit because I don't know it off the top of my head, but so this Sunday or this Saturday, we are.
It's a Saturday.
It is Saturday, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Monterey Bay, once again, they're going to have revenge in their heart. Nothing but malice coming down from the bay up there, looking for a little revenge. That's not going to be an easy one. That's not a bad team. They are obviously behind us in the standings, but not by that much.
No, they're going to be embarrassed by their defeat, and like you said, want revenge, and they are fighting for a playoff spot. Is not going to be an easy match. None of even though our teams are ranked low in the table, lower than we are, they're all fighting for things, right? And except for maybe Las Vegas, our last game of the season. But Monterey Bay, El Paso, Oakland are all fighting to maintain their playoff positions, and they need every point they can get to try to salvage that. So, we can look at it one way, say, oh, they're at the bottom end of the table, these should be easy games for us, but they're not going to be easy games.
So Monterey, then it is. I've been complaining about the USL's website because it's not great. Monterey, El Paso. That's a Wednesday away. Another team fighting for a playoff spot. Then we're back at Torero, the last home game potentially against Oakland Roots, a team we've historically struggled against. I don't believe in that type of analysis. Like, there's no like real reason we should struggle against them, but we do for some reason.
Yeah.
That is another Saturday night game. And then it's on the road at Las Vegas. And as we saw Sunday, that's not a gimme game. I know that we will be, there might be more people at the Vegas game in Vegas than there were in Torero on Sunday, from what I'm seeing on Discord and hearing people talk about. That's going to be an interesting broadcast to watch because I'm not going to make it, but I think there are going to be enough loyal fans in that stadium that it's going to be very obvious on the broadcast.
And whether we get a home playoff game or not may come down to that last match.
Oh man,
Oh, definitely.
I hate that. I don't like that, John, but yeah, that's true. And if things don't go to plan, I think mathematically we could be just fighting for that playoff spot in that game. That's our real worst case scenario. Because we are only 40. We have how many? 47 points. We are only 7 points above not being in the playoffs. That is 3 wins and a draw, or 2 wins and a draw, 3 wins. There is enough time to lose 3 games between now and that Vegas match. So I don't want to speak it into existence, but if this team loses the next 3 matches, we could be fighting for that 8 spot, which would be an incredible nosedive from where we're at right now. As much as we complain, the team is not in that bad of form. I don't think they are gelling much better. They do look better. They seem to have settled in. It's just that last result that we're looking for. So, before we move off this tactical discussion, I want to make sure that you have each gotten the chance to give your final thoughts on that Las Vegas match and what's coming ahead.
I'll let KJ go first because I do have one thing I want to bring up that's loosely associated.
Yeah, it's just obviously we're all disappointed about Sunday. I don't feel like they played badly. They controlled the ball once again for a good portion. They just, Vegas came and played a solid defensive game, wasted all the time that they needed to. And Loyal in these last 4 games have got to find a way to put more balls to the back of the net.
And then my comment is just going to be a slightly different thing, a little bit more of a positive thing that's not directly related to what was on the field. And Andrew, I'm pretty sure you participated in this. KJ, I don't know if you did, but at halftime, and I don't have it unfortunately ready to show here on air, but at halftime we did a picture with all 20 kits. Andrew, were you in there?
I was in the Purple Rocket League keeper kit.
Yeah. KJ, what about you?
I had the Siempre Leal.
All right. So, but we did get, and I think all 20, I think there are 20 total, but all 20 SD Loyal kits, and then
plus the 2 locals kits.
Plus our 2 locals kits. So if you haven't seen it, it's up in Discord. Go take a look at it. It's out on the socials. But we got a picture of all the kits in one shot. So I was glad we were able to. I think Steve helped put all that together. I think that might have been Paul Naku's idea. I don't remember, but I came
also
together
for the
pretty
first
quickly
time
at the very end, and it was good. I'm glad people found, that we were able to coordinate that and get all those jerseys together for that picture, because that'll be
it was a great idea, and it came together real quick. So that was it's incredible because we do struggle sometimes to coordinate and make things happen, but that one came together real fast in the last few days on Discord ahead of the match. So good job to everybody.
And then another side note, because, home games, we do man of the match. I would like to give a shout out to Second Chance Beer Company. We just had the Great American Beer Festival, and they came back with 2 bronze medals. I think we had 18 medals total for our county for different breweries, but huge shout out to Second Chance, and they provide the beer that goes in our growler for man of the match, for getting 2 bronze medals at the Great American Beer Festival.
Tabula
then
Rasa. You know,
final-
they used to win. That beer has won gold. I think maybe more than any other beer in that category, and it got a bronze this year. But I mean, for years. I mean, I went to GABF in 2016, and Tabula Rasa won gold that year, and it probably won the next year. That beer just is consistently year after year one of the best browns that you're gonna have. I think that's what it is. A porter. I think it's a porter.
I
But
was surprised how many porters and stouts we got. I mean, we're known for West Coast IPAs, but a lot of our medals that we had when I looked at the list had to do with different porters and different stouts that we had put together.
yeah, B&S Brewing in Santee, which you can go there if you want. With their, I think it's the Gatling Gun Imperial Stout. I think they've medaled with that beer before. They even won the IPA category one year, and they got I think gold in IPA, like a very competitive category. But yeah, it just goes to show like how much quality beer there is in San Diego. If you know which breweries to go to, there's also unfortunately a lot of like not good beer. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's watch parties at those places, and yeah, you just have to kind of power through it. I'm
Well,
not
you
talking
could
about
argue that
Alesmith. Alesmith
we're
is great.
pretty spoiled.
Yes.
The not good beer around here is still generally
Right, it's
drinkable.
better than most.
I don't know. You don't want like off flavors in your beer, and you know you'd like your IPA to like taste like an IPA and not like something. You want to taste that buttery popcorn stuff in your pilsners, and yeah, you all washing your tanks or what's going on here? But hey, you know what? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a brewer. I'm
Well,
not talking about anybody specifically, by the way, before anybody says anything. But you know,
Certainly not.
another thing at this match, in the man of the match, for the first time this year, you might have seen a kid badly in need of a haircut down there. My kid got to go down there on the field. He's at the match with me. I felt bad because his mom did not come to this match, and so obviously I'm drumming, and he's just like, well, usually he's got friends that come to the games, and he goes off and hangs out, but none of his friends were there, so he was just like, he went and sat in the nice. They don't check tickets, right? So he just went and sat in some the seats with the backs on them. You know, he went and just sat over there and watched the game. And then at the 80th minute came over and got to go down on the field, and it was really cool. And I think maybe in the last game I've heard we might be going down on the field as well as a section. I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But first, because I know we're already half an hour into the show, let's talk about this Saturday. What do people need to know? We are doing a barking lot. The owner of the club is going to come and hang out with us. John, what's going on Saturday?
right, that's the big thing. Barking lot. They usually start at 4, so barking lot will be happening this match and next week as well. So our last 2 home games both have barking lots. Still to be determined if we get a home playoff match, whether there'll be a barking lot or not. We have to work things out with Grandma's house. So barking lots this weekend. Andrew Vasiliadis, our owner, is going to be there. I believe he's going to be DJing.
Well, John, the
but
locals
more
are owned by no one.
importantly-
Locals owned by no one. He is the owner of the Loyal.
Of the Loyal. Right. But he will also be there to do a Q&A session between 5 and 6 down in the barking lot. So our barking lots are always open to everyone. I think sometimes people think they're just for locals or just for season ticket members. Anybody so can come down and go to the barking lot. Andrew's doing his Q&A there. So we might get a lot more people also than normal if people want to attend Andrew's Q&A session. So keep that in mind as you are planning about when you want to show up to the barking lot, especially maybe if you want to get in line and get a beer before all that starts and before it starts to get real crowded. but it should make for a great crowd for our march to the match. And I'm not sure what time. Clearly, it'll be after 6, after Andrew's done, but I'm not sure what time exactly we'll be leaving from there. It's usually, I don't know.
Probably right
I wanna
after he's
say around
done. If we're
6:20.
being honest, like we're gonna need to get moving.
But yeah, I would say after he's done and get things cleaned up and start getting the march going. And then other than that, normal man of the match stuff in the 70th minute. So make sure you get on Discord if you want to participate in the vote for man of the match. And then afterwards at O'Brien's. So that's those are the normal big things for this match coming up.
All right. Well, everybody got an email this week from the locals. It's a survey, but it's an open-ended survey. Leadership is looking for your thoughts and opinions about the future of the locals. As I'm sure everybody watching this show knows, San Diego Loyal are folding at the end of the season. And we are going to be a supporter group without a team to support. So open your email, do the survey. I talked with Steve a little bit at the pregame. Steve, the president of the locals, he said he'd read through some of them already. He wouldn't give me too much, but he said that it seems like people are kind of falling into two different camps. One to just go down the MLS route exclusively, and the other camp to kind of trying to do what Chavos are talking about doing and just being a general San Diego soccer supporter group. That seems to be what people are telling him or responding to these surveys under. I know that there is going to be another survey very soon that will, I think, maybe focus in a little bit more than this current survey. But the thing is that leadership is listening to the wants and needs and desires of members. So if you want your opinion, if you have a strong opinion, and you don't happen to host the podcast like I do, and you want people to hear your strong opinion, do the survey. I did my survey. I did. John did his. Kevin, we're not going to talk about him dropping the ball on that one, but
Kevin's going to do his.
It's actually really important. A lot of people really put in a lot of time and effort into organizing the locals, to making these things happen. This podcast doesn't just happen, right? I mean, I just happen to show up every week, but John actually has to do real work to make it happen. And people are invested, people care about this, and we know that you care about this. So if you care about this, and I know you do, have your voice heard. I've heard from people who I've never met before, but they listen to this podcast or they watch the stream, and there are folks out there who are members of the locals who, they don't talk in Discord. Maybe they lurk, maybe they're not in Discord. Every now and then I see people talking in the locals Facebook group, which never ceases to amaze me that people still use Facebook, but they do. This survey is the best opportunity you have to help guide the direction of this supporter group. And I think it's a great opportunity to have some input on that.
So a couple things to add. I'm not sure, you talked to Steve around game time, so I'm not sure how many people that we had that had done the survey at that point. I'm looking at it right now. There have been 75 people who have submitted things to the survey, which is good. I mean, we have more than 300 members listed as active members. I hope people are hearing about this with the survey, but it does close tomorrow on Wednesday. So we're recording this on a Tuesday. For us live, it's tomorrow. So I don't know when people may listen to this.
First thing Wednesday, that's the first podcast on their queue every morning. I know for a fact that people cannot wait.
Well, just to make sure, Wednesday night, I don't know at what time, but it'll go through Wednesday, so you'll have a chance to get your responses in. The plan, just so people know, because we talked about on our lounge episode last week, kind of how the transition plan was going to work. This is the first of 3 planned surveys. This one was entirely free response, and it was intentionally set up that way so that would allow us to really get a feel of where people are to help shape our future 2 surveys that are coming. So not sure the exact plan. I know as a member of Congress, I am going to be pushing very hard that we make all the responses without names, right? And we can strip all the names off of there. I guess there weren't names, there were email addresses, but we can strip all those out of there and put all the responses out so everybody has a chance to digest and see what people said on the survey. I think
Oh, everybody's going to know which one's mine because
yeah.
I'm so obnoxious.
I think it's good for people to see the different responses. And as someone who had a hand in help putting this together, I really want to thank, and I do appreciate everybody, especially who answered the question about our stumbling blocks and where we could improve. There were a lot of good things that were listed in there, and some of them we know where we dropped the ball. There were a couple other things that I think helped open some people's eyes to some other potential issues that no matter where we pivot or how we pivot with the locals, those are things that are still going to need to be addressed if we want to strengthen our supporter group communities. So I really want to thank everyone who took time and gave a thoughtful response to
Oh
those.
man,
And
I'm
I would
sorry,
say-
John. I just said one time somebody brought up Vuvuzela to the section. I did not take that question seriously. My apologies.
I really thought.
But that
it
was
just gonna
traumatic.
be
That was
loaded.
really bad.
I really thought it was going to be loaded with Andrew Carlton stuff, and there were some, but frankly, that's not the majority. There were other issues that people had, very valid, strong
Oh
things
yeah.
that I think as we move forward, we need to take a hard look at some of those things to see how we can do better moving forward. So I wish we would have done more of these regularly over the 4 years. I'm glad we're doing it now. So if you
Just
want
in
input
time.
on this one, and thank you to the 75 people who have given input already. If you want input on this one, you have till the end of the day on Wednesday, the 27th, to get that finished. Then hopefully we'll get the results published anonymously, and then we'll give people time to digest them. And we're looking at next week, probably doing another lounge episode where we can get a few people on and break these down a little bit. Because your comment about what Steve said, I would say at least now with 75 in there is maybe a bit more nuanced and broad than those 2 categories. So it'll be good for everybody to take a look at the responses, and I hope that helps foster some conversations. And the next survey will be more pick a choice, because our next step is going to be have to kind of dig a little deeper into a couple of these issues to really figure out where we're going to go and what's going to be productive. And I'll say this up front, and please help pass this message around, anybody who hears this. It is a problem if, let's say, the locals, most of the members, by our surveys and vote and whatever, they indicate they'd like to pivot to choice A, whatever that may be. And a smaller group wants to pivot, say, to choice B, whatever that may be. But if there's no one who's willing to be involved in leadership type
Like
things
run
moving
for
forward,
these open positions.
right, it's going to potentially kill any opportunity. And these are some of the things we're going to dig down a little deeper to find out in the next surveys. So I want people to think about that. So if you're interested as you take the survey and some things appeal to you in the next one, some of those questions are going to be, would you be interested in helping do a leadership position? And some people just can't in their lives. And we understand that, but we do need, if we're going to make a choice with this leadership group and the entire group of where we go, and even if we have 75% of the people want a particular choice, but nobody in that group wants to lead, that's a problem. So these are some of the things we want to dig at and find out. And maybe once we start finding out some of those things, then people just naturally kind of step up out of that group. But those are some of the things we're going to be digging into a little deeper in the next couple of surveys, and see if we can flesh out these kind of broad ideas that have come up through the free response, and see if we can get a little narrow focus on what's most important to locals, and how do we try to preserve whatever that is moving forward.
All right. So Saturday, parking lot, team owner, big party, must-win game, and your surveys. If you take nothing else from us, those are the most important things that you can do as a local this week. Final thoughts from either of you on what's ahead?
But before we get to final thoughts, there was one more thing that we skipped that is highly important. So besides parking lot and besides survey, we are trying to do an end of the year video. And like we've done in years past, we need to crowdsource that video. We're going to do a similar thing like we've done before with a script, but the script is going to be a bit looser than we've had before. And other times we had everybody read the same script and we spliced things together. So in the script that you're going to see this time, there's going to be some opportunities for you to fill in your own personalized messages that then we will also edit in through the script. So I'm hoping this is going to be posted tomorrow. The script's done, should be approved now. Everything's ready to go. We just need to get it out and published. So look for that to come out hopefully on Wednesday. But we're trying to do potentially 3 things. One is an end of the season, just general thank you video, like we've done at the end of other seasons before. Possibly, depending on how quickly we get some of our videos, a little kind of hype video for when we make the playoffs, because we're expecting to make the playoffs, whether we have a home game or not. But our last home game, which is a week from this Saturday coming up on October 7th, we would like to do an in-stadium video at the end of the match. So in order to do that, we really need, once this gets posted, we really need people to record the videos, submit the videos. They're basically coming into me. All that's going to be on the instruction sheet.
Where is this instruction sheet?
October
is this going to
1st.
be an email? Is this going to be on Discord? How are people supposed to do this?
It should be posted both through email and through Discord, hopefully tomorrow on Wednesday. So
all right, these videos are very cool. If you haven't seen what we've done before, they are cool.
In order to do the one for the 7th, our last known home game that we're going to have, we really need to have as many video submissions as possible by October 1st. Now, the other ones we have a little more time for, but that one, in order to collect the videos and edit and put everything together, we need people as soon as this comes out. And people have generally been good, because sometimes we only give people 48 hours to do this, that record and turn around, and, in 72 hours, we're putting the video together. And that's why we do a firmer script. But we're trying to do something to give people a little more leeway in the message that they contribute. So we need a little bit more time to edit. And really important that once it comes out, if you want to participate, is get those videos recorded and get them submitted by Sunday, October 1st. So we have the week to put it all together. So hopefully it's ready for our last home match. So parking lot, survey if you haven't finished, and the member video if you would like to help submit something for that.
All right. Thanks, John. All right. So we've got a plan, got a game. We'll see all of y'all there. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us for this episode. Always great to have you on. Really appreciate the fact that you actually have a microphone. It really helps the show quality. So that's appreciated. And John, thank you for all of your work. Not just tonight, but all season doing this. It doesn't happen without you. So always appreciated.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back next week, hopefully in a much better mood.